Fam, have you ever seen a photo or a painting or just something hanging on a girl's wall? Because I'm assuming that at some point in your life you've been inside of a girl's room. Have you ever had that thought to yourself that, damn, some of these girls got the same shit hanging in their room? For example, a couple years ago, I used to hook up with this girl that had this one very beautiful print of a painting behind her bed. So trust me and this painting have had some FaceTime. And it's a painting by Andrew Wyeth of this girl laying in a field looking at a house. And there was a few times where I was smashing and I thought, damn, that's a beautiful painting. I wish I knew more about it. Unfortunately, after smashing, didn't really stick around that long to ask about it. I did say it was nice once, but that was about it. But ironically, or maybe unironically, I have found the history of that painting. So I figured, you know what? I want to learn about this painting. Maybe you guys can learn with me. We'll figure out why this girl had this painting behind her bed and maybe why it was so good. It set the mood a little bit. All right, let's get into this. It's by Nerdwriter, by the way, who is also an amazing art YouTube creator, commentator. Subscribe, check them out. I love them.
I worked and worked and worked on just the field, that swell, that curve of the field. It's like building a house and then living in it. I built the ground, thinking
Beautiful.
of her. And then when I put it, it was right. That pink, like faded lobster shells that you find on the shore there.
I'm having so many flashbacks right now. Oh, it's called Christina's. It's called Christina's World. I had no idea.
Was 31 when he made Christina's World in Cushing, Maine, and it's become one of the most recognizable American paintings of the 20th century. There is unquestionably a great...
It's beautiful. Guys, can we just get a moment for this painting? Like, all jokes aside, I mean, I was being serious, but jokes aside, like, this is a beautiful painting. Like, the colors, her pink dress, the hair, the motion in her hair, the lonely country, like, wooden house in the background. Like, it's so... The way it guides your eyes, and it's so soft, and the details of that grass. Oh, my God. It's a beautiful piece.
Power in it. And it's a power that is more accessible to the average person than some of the prevailing experimentation of that period. At least it is for me. That doesn't mean that it's any better or worse than a painting by, say, Jackson Pollock from the same year. Only that being realistic and dramatic, Christina's World more easily fits the shape of our memories, our dreams, our fears and cravings. In other words, it resembles a story. Okay, so what's the...
Yeah, it's real. It's not some abstract contemporary modern piece like a Pollock piece. It's something tangible that you feel like you've seen before. Ooh, excuse me. It feels like something out of a movie.
The story Andrew Wyeth wants to tell with this painting? What we can see is a woman lying in a field, looking up a gently sloping hill to a house and barn in the distance. The composition is elegantly designed. The first thing you notice is the woman. Her shape and her gaze draw you diagonally across the canvas to the home in the upper right. From there, your eyes slip.
Did I not tell you guys, we do so much arts and culture and like video watching on this channel that I'm actually getting really knowledgeable about art history. And I could tell from just looking at this painting that the way it guides your eyes, like the way your eyes move across a piece is so important. Like you see her first in the foreground, and then she the diagonal nature of her body just automatically shows you what she's looking at, which just draws you to it. So many little genius things like that. I don't know if Wyeth purposely did that or not, or if it just becomes instinctual after a while.
Slip down the hilltop to the barn, then to the boundary where the tall grass meets the short, which curves forward and back down, dropping you off at the woman again.
That's so genius. What? That's so crazy.
This constant movement from foreground to background intensifies the three-dimensionality of the painting, already felt in the careful work Wyeth puts into the swell and curve of the field. Beyond this, there is a perfect asymmetrical balance between the woman and the shapes in the top third of the canvas. These are design features that communicate a feeling of serenity immediately, without us even knowing why at first, like a bass note that's too low to hear, but influences our experience nonetheless.
That was so beautifully said. It gives you a feeling without being so obvious. to as why it gives you that feeling. Nerdwriter says some beautiful shit sometimes. He just eloquently puts his words in the right order. It just sounds so nice.
And yet, as we begin to look closer at Christina's world, a few things start to work against this calm. For example, the colors, as in many of Wyeth's paintings, are muted, reflecting the particular austerity of New England landscapes, a common image in early American art and thought. Even the woman's dress, which is the most striking color on the canvas, is a subdued pink, like
Facts.
faded lobster shells, as Wyeth describes it.
Yeah.
The next thing that stands out is the woman's posture, especially
Yeah.
her thin
Her thin bones, it's like she's crawling. Like, look at her hands. They're kind of creepy. That thin posture of her. Yeah, ooh, it's getting creepier as we look at it.
and contorted arms, the way her hands grip the earth with a kind of nervous energy. They are the only hint of what might be going on in her head. Facing her away from the viewer creates an absence that, in our interpretation of the scene, of the story, we're desperate to fill. So we
Yeah.
put ourselves in her place. But that doesn't quite dispel the feeling of inscrutability, of not knowing, that charges the painting with tension. There is
Yeah.
more we can know about the woman
does.
in Christina's world. If
I've wondered like about this painting literally while I was naked inside someone before. Like, oh, that's probably too far. But like I've wondered about this painting before. Like, is this a good feeling? But then you look at her body and like, wait a minute, she looks a little emaciated and her hands are kind of clenched. Like, is this like a lost feeling? Is this a dream? Is she searching for something? Is that thing in the distance something that she's longing for? It seems so far away. Like, Wyeth does such a good job at making the house seem so far away. Like almost as if she'll never get there. Like she's stuck and she has to crawl towards it.
with tension. There is more we can know about the woman in Christina's world, if we want to. Christina is, after all, a real person. Anna
Oh, shit.
Christina Olsen, who lived in the house from the painting with her brother, Alvaro. Olsen suffered from Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, a neuromuscular disorder that robbed her of the use of her legs. She
Whoa.
refused to use a wheelchair, however, preferring to crawl using the strength of her arms.
I saw her crawling out to a little truck garden she had next to the house one day, and it dawned on me. And I went home that night. I remember there was a small party being given at the James's house, and I remember in the middle of the party I rushed out into a room in the studio that I had painted in and kept my material, and made a quick notation of this idea of Christine, the field, the house in the
Dude, this is so beautiful.
background.
Olsen was 55 at the time of the painting, but if the figure in that pink dress looks more youthful, that's because Wyeth used his wife Betsy for a model of Christina's torso. Only the arms betray her real condition. To Wyeth, Christina's world wasn't the portrait of someone at just one point in time. It was a painting of Christina's whole life, her weakness, but also her strength and vitality, and above all, the deep, lifelong connection she had to this old family house in Maine and the
Wow.
land surrounding it. By painting a symbolic representation of that connection, by setting it in perpetual motion with his composition, by laboring for weeks and weeks on the grass and the shape
It's
of
so crazy. It started with a small idea. Like he literally saw this scene, jotted it down, and went back to it. The smallest ideas can sometimes lead to the biggest like discoveries or breakthroughs I found. Even in my life, there's times where I've been inspired by something I see on the street or something like that, and I just kind of write it in my notes, like the inspiration. And sometimes those little kernels of ideas turn into trees and flowers, aka like using metaphors here for like they turn into big ideas that are great from a small idea, smallest of inspirations.
the field. Wyeth, I think, was looking for a secret in nature. His work descends from the tradition of Emerson and Thoreau, who found in the natural world the basis for a new American philosophy. Emerson writes in his essay Nature, "Crossing a bare common in snow puddles at twilight under a clouded sky, without having in my thoughts any occurrence of special good fortune, I have enjoyed a perfect exhilaration. I am glad to the brink of fear. I become a transparent eyeball. I am nothing. I see all."
Damn.
I often feel if I could only be not there to paint, just a pair of eyes, would be so
Wow,
marvelous.
look at that.
If I could just do something and disappear and just be terrific.
In his painting, Andrew Wyeth becomes Emerson's transparent eyeball. He sees in the nature around him, even in the barren landscapes of New England, something profoundly real. As an artist, he helps us to see it too. And it's a reminder, frankly, I need. Living in a city, living online, it's easy to go about your day and see nothing.
Yo, living online. I relate to that so hard. Oh my gosh. When you really think about it, how many of us are actually living online? It kind of starts to feel like we are living online. We're already a part of the Matrix, dude. This feels like we're in the Matrix. Like, we're already plugged in. We're already, have a symbiosis with our computers. I spend more time in front of this goddamn Mac screen than anything else.
Thing at all. Now, getting back in touch with nature isn't a promise of happiness, as the tensions in Christina's world are careful to show. But
Yeah.
there is, I think, a piece of us in the land, in the trees, in the sky, and a sense of wholeness waits for us when we can remember not to forget it.
I was there at the right moment. Imagine if I hadn't been there. But you see how important it is to be in a surrounding and breathe it,
Yeah.
and then it happens, if you're lucky, and you're perceptive enough to catch it.
Hey everybody,
Let's go. Andrew Wyeth, the GOAT. I'm glad I didn't know any of those things when I was enjoying myself in front of that painting. Now I know. Wow, that Andrew Wyeth is the GOAT.
God damn, Tang, I ain't
Wacky
never heard no
slash.
shit like
I know,
this.
that's amazing.
Guys, if you enjoyed that at all, if you enjoyed watching that with me, enjoyed my commentary, my dumb assness, first of all, hit subscribe. Second of all, try and catch the live streams. I'm doing them 3 times a week at least. Join me Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. For now, we'll do more. Hopefully, if we can find a good game to play. But until then, hope you enjoyed. Shout out Andrew Wyeth, you gangster, and shout out Nerd Rider. Shout out Nerd Rider, you super gangster. Damn.